Hey guys. All right, so today we're going to start Unit 3, and Lesson 1 is solving systems of equations by substitution. So we looked at systems a little bit in Algebra 1, and we're going to take it a little bit deeper in Algebra 2. So if you haven't already, you should pause the video and go watch the transitive property video I posted last night. But basically that video is saying that the transitive property says that if A equals B and B equals C, then A has to equal C. So if we say that, if A equals 3 and 3 equals C, well, if A is 3 and C is 3, then A and C are the same thing, right? They're both 3. They're equal to each other. So we're going to apply the transitive property when we're solving systems of equations. So what we're doing when we're solving systems is trying to find, for when we have two equations, trying to find an x and a y that work in both equations. Okay, so we're going to apply the transitive property here today. On number 1, if we have y equals 3x, so we have y equals negative 3x, and we have that y equals 6x minus 9. Well, since y equals both of these things, then we can say that 3x equals 6x minus 9. And now I have a linear equation I can solve with one variable, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract 6x. My goal is to get x by itself. So we have negative 9x equals negative 9, so x equals 1. So far, all I've done was apply the transitive property. I said, well, if y equals both of these things, then I can set them equal to each other. I solved for x, and I figured out my x value. But I also want to know my y value. What's my y value? So I can figure this out by plugging x in. And I'm just going to choose y equals negative 3x because that's an easier equation. So for y equals negative 3x, I can figure out what y is by plugging in x equals 1 for x. So we have y equals negative 3 times 1, so y equals negative 3. So my solution for both of these points, or for both of these lines, should be 1, negative 3. And I'm going to double check that. I'm going to take my second equation here. So I have y equals 6x minus 9, and I'm going to plug those points in. So I have negative 3 equals 6 times 1 minus 9. So negative 3 equals 6 minus 9. So negative 3 equals negative 3, and it's correct. We can go ahead. We already plugged in 1 to our first equation, and we solved for y. So we know it's going to work on this equation. We've already done that. But my solution here is going to be 1, negative 3. All right, so let's try it again with number 2. We have y equals negative 2x minus 9 and y equals 2x minus 1. Since y equals both of these things, I can set them equal to each other. So we have negative 2x minus 9 equals 2x minus 1. I'm going to solve to get x by itself. I'm going to go ahead and add 2x to both sides and then add a 1 to both sides. So over here, this is 0. This leaves me with negative 8 equals 4x, and that's 0. Divide by 4, so x equals negative 2. I'm going to go ahead and plug that into an equation. It doesn't really matter which one I choose, so I'll choose the second one here. So y equals 2 times negative 2 minus 1. So 2 times negative 2 is negative 4 minus 1. So y equals negative 5. So my point should be negative 2, negative 5. Let's double check that. Okay, so I'm going to plug that back in and test it out. So, excuse me, we have y equals, I'm going to plug it back into that first equation, negative 2x minus 9. So we have negative 5 equals negative 2 times negative 2 minus 9. So negative 5 equals negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4 minus 9. So negative 5 equals negative 5, and it works out. Okay, so number 3, we have negative 2x plus 2y equals 18. And we have y equals 7x plus 15. Okay, so on this problem for these two systems, I don't have two things that say y equals, but I do have one thing that says y equals, and I have another thing that has a y in it. So I'm going to go ahead and just substitute this in. I'm going to say, I can say 2x plus 2. Well, instead of writing y, I'm going to use this whole equation. I'm going to substitute this in. 7x plus 15 equals 18. So now I can solve for x. Well, first I need to distribute. I got parentheses, so negative 2x plus 14x plus 30 equals 18. Negative 2, I've got some like terms I'm going to combine. So this is 12x plus 30 equals 18. Subtract 30 from both sides. 12x equals 12. And I'm gonna, ooh, that's negative 12. Negative 12. Divide by 12 on both sides. So x equals negative 1. Okay, so now I'm gonna substitute negative 1 back in. I'm gonna go ahead and just plug it into this equation. So y equals 7 times negative 1 plus 15. So y equals negative 7 plus 15. So y equals 8. Yes, I think. So my point should be negative 1, 8. I'm going to go ahead and check it in that other equation. We have negative 2 times negative 1 plus 2 times 8 equals 18. So this becomes 2 plus 16 equals 18, and 18 equals 18. Good. It worked out. So negative 1, 8 would be my solution here. So on this one, instead of saying, well, because y equals this and y equals that, I can set those two things equal to each other. All I did was say, well, y is 7x plus 15, so I'm just going to plug that in on number 3. So number 4, we have the same idea. I'm going to do that again. We have negative 2x minus y equals negative 5, right? And x minus 8y equals negative 23. X minus 8y equals negative 23. All right, so now I don't have an equation that just says x equals or y equals. So here I'm going to go ahead and solve. X is already by itself. It doesn't have a coefficient, so I'm going to solve to get x by itself there. Whoops, I didn't mean to draw the equal sign. So I'm going to add 8y to both sides. That means x is equal to negative 23 plus 8y. So all I did was solve this literal equation. I just solved to get x by itself. Now I have something I can plug in for x over here. So I have negative 2 times negative 23 plus 8y instead of x minus y equals negative 5. And I can solve for y here, so I'm going to distribute. So this will be positive 46 minus 16y minus y equals negative 5. So 46 minus 17y equals negative 5. I'm going to subtract 46 from both sides. So negative 17y equals negative 51. I'm going to use my calculator here really quick. So, right? Yeah, 51, and then we're going to do 51 divided by 17. So divide that negative 51 by negative 17, so y is going to equal 3. Okay, so now I have a y. I'm going to plug that into this equation here. So x is going to equal negative 23 plus 8 times 3 instead of y. So 8 times 3 is 24, so x equals negative 23 plus 24, so x equals 1. So my point should be 1, 3. And let's check it. Let's plug it into that other equation. So negative 2 times 1 minus 3 equals negative 5. I'm not really sure why I put parentheses around that. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Minus 3 equals negative 5. And negative 5 equals negative 5. All right, it worked out. And last but not least, let's look at number 5. I'm going to open this up on my screen so that I don't have to scroll back and forth. If I can get it here. Let me try. Probably could have just scrolled back and forth faster. It is raining. All right, so number 5, we have 6x plus 4y equals 16 and negative 2x plus y equals negative 3. So here I'm going to solve to get y by itself. I'm going to add 2x to both sides. All I'm doing whenever I'm deciding which one to solve for is looking for something that doesn't have a coefficient. I'm looking for the easiest thing to solve. Okay, so that was easy one step solve to get y by itself. Now I can substitute, so I have 6x plus 4 times 2x minus 3 equals 16. Also, I want to point out, we could solve this equation for y also, and then we would have something, y equals something and y equals something. We could set those two things equal to each other, but that's more work than we want to do, right? It's easier just to plug things in and substitute the way we're doing it now. So that's the reason I'm not going to solve for y on both of these. All right, so I'm going to distribute 6x plus 8x. 4 times 3 is negative 12 equals 16. So 8 and 6 is 14x. I'm going to add 12 to both sides. 14x equals 28. Divide by 14 and x equals 2. Now I'm going to substitute that in, so y equals 2 times 2 minus 3. Y equals 4 minus 3, y equals 1. So my point should be 2, 1. And let's check it. 6 times 2 plus 4 times 1 should be 16. So 12 plus 4 should be 16, and I think it is. That works out. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that equal sign. Okay, so this is solving systems by substitution. Remember, we can apply the transitive property, and also if y equals something, we can plug that in for y. We don't have to solve both things for y equals to apply the transitive property. All right, if you have any questions, let me know.